He wasn't supposed to be on duty that night, but when the alarm rang, he grabbed his gear anyway. No cameras, no glory, just one final call. What he did inside that burning house left the whole town speechless, and a little girl alive. That his is the story of the firefighter's last rescue. Jack Mercer was not supposed to be there that night. It was his night off, a rare evening of quiet in a life
because
shaped
someone
by sirens
once did for
and
me.
smoke. But old habits, they don't retire as easily as the man who carries them. Jack was 58, 30 years in the fire service, 30 winters, 30 summers, in a body that no longer moved without reminding him of every fall, every lift, every rescue. He stopped by the station, uninvited, carrying a chocolate cake with a single candle. It was Max's birthday, the youngest in the crew, first year on the job. Still called him Sir out of habit. The room was loud with laughter and teasing, but Jack stayed near the edge of it, smiling, watching, like a man peeking in on a world he was slowly fading from. Then the alarm rang. 3 sharp pulses. Structure fire. Residential. Child possibly trapped inside. The crew moved with practiced urgency. Boots hit the floor. Radios crackled. Within seconds, the trucks were roaring out into the night. Jack stood still, one hand on the doorway, the other still holding the now-forgotten cake. He wasn't assigned. He wasn't even supposed to be here. But his eyes, they drifted toward the whiteboard, where the rotation schedule was scribbled in black marker. All accounted for, except one spot, Reserve Unit 3. Unused. Unassigned. Jack didn't ask. He didn't call out. He just walked into the gear room, pulled down his old jacket, the one with faded letters. Mercer. It smelled like soot and memory, like every call he'd ever answered. And still it fit. Helmet. Gloves. Boots. He geared up with the rhythm of muscle memory. No aplausos. No one even noticed. The station was quiet now. Empty. Except for one man. Jack climbed into the reserve engine, an older model no one liked driving. Turned the ignition. The diesel rumbled like an old friend waking up. Neighbors stood helpless across the street. Some crying. Some filming. None crossing the yellow tape. The main crews had arrived, but access was blocked. Cars had jammed the narrow street. Hoses couldn't reach. Ladders weren't in place yet. And someone, a frantic mother, was screaming that her daughter was still inside. Jack parked down the block. Got out. No orders. No plan. He saw the smoke, curling like black hands from the roof. He saw the woman, on her knees in the grass, sobbing a name over and over, Emma. And Jack Mercer just started walking. Not running. Not yelling. Just walking. Toward the burning house. Toward the front door. Toward the fire. Someone shouted at him to wait. Someone else tried to grab his arm. But Jack didn't hear them. Or maybe he just didn't listen. Because when you've spent 3 decades walking into flames, one more doesn't scare you. Not if there's still someone inside. Not if there's a little girl crying out from behind smoke and timber. He crossed the threshold, and the door closed behind him. Outside, sirens echoed. But inside, there was only heat and silence. The house was old, built in the 70s. Wood frame, dry walls, narrow stairwells. The kind of place that turns into a furnace in minutes, especially when the wind decides to join the flames. Jack Mercer arrived just as the sky turned orange. He parked 2 blocks away. Any closer, and he would have been trapped by the tangle of civilian cars and emergency vehicles. He could see the chaos ahead. Hoses stretching uselessly, firefighters stuck rerouting lines. And somewhere in the confusion, a woman on her knees, clawing at the pavement. That was Emma's mother. Her screams cut through the noise like glass. My baby. She's still in there. Emma's still in there. Jack didn't stop to ask. Didn't radio in. Didn't wait. He had one question, and the answer was in her eyes. Yes, Emma was still inside. 6 years old. 2nd grade. Loved purple dresses and glow-in-the-dark stars on her ceiling. She had been in her upstairs bedroom when the fire started. The mother and older brother had escaped from the kitchen. But Emma's room was in the back, cut off by a hallway that was now swallowed in fire. Jack could feel the heat from the street. It wasn't just a house fire. This was something else. He moved past the caution tape, past the crowd, past the rookie firefighter who tried to stop him. "Sir, wait. We're still securing." Jack didn't answer. He was already at the front porch. Helmet down, visor locked, oxygen tank hissing quietly on his back. He kicked open the door. Inside, the fire spoke in a language only old firefighters understood. It cracked and roared like it wanted to be heard. Walls creaked. Glass shattered. Smoke moved low, hungry and thick. It knew someone had entered. Jack dropped to one knee, felt the floorboards. Still solid. He swept left. Living room gone. Kitchen engulfed. He followed the heat, but also something else. Something quieter. The knowledge of layout. The instincts of time. Where a staircase should be. How far a child might run. How long a 6-year-old can hold out. He found the stairs. Barely. The banister was already warped, and half the steps were smoking through. One wrong move, and it would collapse under him. But Jack moved slow, measured. Every footfall was a promise. Every breath was numbered. Upstairs hallway. Zero visibility. He called out. Once. "Emma." Nothing. Just the sound of fire climbing through drywall. The ceiling groaned like it might fall in. Jack crouched low. Searched room to room. Closet. Bathroom. Empty. Then, a door. Closed tight. Handle hot. He knocked once. Then again, louder. "Emma, if you hear me, knock." Silence. Then, a faint thump. 2, 3. Jack slammed the door open. Inside, the room was filled with smoke, but not yet burning. And there, beneath the bed, a tiny hand. Emma was curled up, coughing, eyes wide with terror, clutching a stuffed rabbit in one arm. She didn't cry, didn't scream. She just looked at him, like he wasn't real, like angels might wear helmets and walk through fire. Jack dropped to his knees. "It's okay," he said, voice muffled by his mask. "I'm taking you home." He pulled off his coat, wrapped her in it, lifted her gently. But when he turned around, the hallway was gone. Flames now danced in the path he came through, roaring, laughing. No way back. He scanned the room. Window. Small. Second floor. Risky, but better than staying. He kicked out the glass. Used a chair to knock away shards. The drop was 12 feet. Hard landing, but grass below. Jack held Emma close. Told her to shut her eyes. Then he jumped. They hit the ground hard. His back took the worst of it. Shoulder snapped. He felt it. But Emma? She cried. She coughed. She breathed. She lived. Jack lay on the ground, face to the sky, while the rest of the crew finally reached them. He didn't move, didn't speak, just stared at the smoke rising above the rooftops. Someone tried to lift him. He waved them off. His job was done. And the fire? The fire was finished. The fire was no longer just fire. It was alive, roaring, breathing, bending the walls like paper. Inside the house, Jack Mercer felt the floor vibrate beneath his boots. The structure was failing. The hallway groaned as he moved forward, axe in one hand, the other sweeping the smoke like a blind man searching for hope. He could hear the building scream, with splintering, glass snapping, nails tearing free. The air was thick, heavy. Each breath from his tank was slower now, more precious. Outside, the crews assumed he had pulled back. How could he not? The flames had swallowed the stairwell. No one could survive inside that long. But Jack wasn't done. He wasn't leaving without her. He followed a sound. Not a scream. Something smaller. A soft cry, barely audible over the fire's rage. A shout sobi. He turned left. A closed door, scorched around the edges. Locked from the inside. He pounded once with his fist. Emma. No answer. He dropped to his knee and pressed his ear against the wood. There. A faint rustling. Something brushing against the floor. She was in there. Alone. Afraid. And out of time. Jack stood up. Raised the axe. With one swing, the door cracked. 2 more. And it flew open. Smoke rushed out like a living thing. It hit him in the chest. But he pushed through. Inside, the room was dense with heat. But not yet on fire. He swept left. Nothing. Right, nothing. Then, under the bed. Movement. He dropped to the floor. Lowered his head, and saw her, Emma, 6 years old, covered in soot, hugging a singed stuffed rabbit, eyes wide, terrified, frozen. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just looked at him, like he was both impossible and exactly who she'd been waiting for. Jack reached in. Careful. Slow. Firefighter. I'm here to take you home. She blinked once. Nodded. He pulled her out, wrapping her instantly in his jacket, still warm, still heavy with ash. The fire roared behind them, but the hallway was gone, blocked by falling beams. Flames curled across the ceiling. There was no way back. Jack turned. Window. Small. Cracked. But it would have to do. He grabbed a chair, smashed the glass, kicked away the frame. The smoke tried to pull him back in, but he stepped forward, clutching Emma close. Second story. 12 feet. Maybe more. He looked down. Grass. No obstacles. No time. Hold on to me. He whispered. Emma tightened her arms around his neck. Jack took one breath, one step, and jumped. They hit hard. A thud. A grunt. Pain burst through Jack's side. A rib, maybe two. But he never let go. Emma tumbled gently in his arms, then landed softly against his chest. She coughed. Eyes opened. Alive. Jack didn't move at first. Not from exhaustion. Not from fear. But because for the first time, he felt peace. The mission was done. Then came the sounds. Sirens. Shouting. Footsteps pounding the grass. Max, the rookie, reached him first. Chief. Jack lifted one hand weakly. Pointed to Emma. She's okay, he rasped. Take her. Emma was lifted from his arms. Wrapped in blankets. Rushed to the paramedics. Jack stayed where he was. Flat on his back. Breathing through cracked ribs. Staring at the black smoke curling into the night sky. His job was over. He didn't need applause. Didn't need to stand. Didn't even need to be seen. He just needed to know she made it. And from the look in her eyes, as she was carried away, he knew. Jack Mercer didn't feel the ground when he landed. The pain was there. Sharp white instant. But then it vanished. Washed away by something darker. His shoulder snapped out of place. His head struck the grass. And the world flickered, like the last seconds of an old film reel. Then nothing. Just silence. The next thing he knew, he was staring at white lights. Cold. Buzzing faintly. A hospital ceiling. His throat was dry. His arm strapped tight. His shoulder in a sling. Machines beeped steadily beside him. He blinked. A nurse leaned over. Kind face. Soft voice. You're in County General. You've been unconscious for a few hours. Jack didn't ask where he was. Didn't ask what time it was. Didn't ask what happened to him. He only asked one thing. Is the girl okay? The nurse smiled. She's safe. Just a little smoke exposure. Not a single burn. Jack closed his eyes, allowed a long breath, and said nothing more. The doctors came next. Broken shoulder. Hairline rib fracture. Concussion. Nothing they hadn't seen before. Nothing Jack hadn't felt before. But this time, it would take longer to heal. Maybe because he was older. Maybe because he finally let himself feel it. Outside the room, reporters gathered. Someone had leaked the story. Veteran firefighter saves child in solo rescue. Mercer's final call. Real hero walks into flames. But no one had video. No one had photos. Just smoke. Screams. And a little girl who wouldn't stop hugging a burned stuffed rabbit. They tried to piece the story together. Neighbors saw a man enter the burning house alone. Then, minutes later, a crash. A body landing on the lawn, holding something small, wrapped in black. That was it. No footage. No interviews. No social media posts. Just fragments. Jack refused all interviews. Didn't answer calls. Didn't show up to the press conference the department scheduled in his honor. He didn't need to explain, because some rescues weren't meant to be talked about. Back at the fire station, the guys kept asking Max what happened. But Max had only arrived at the scene after it was over. All he saw was Jack on the ground, Emma being carried away, and smoke rising like a memory no one could hold. Even Max couldn't describe it. Jack's family asked, too. His sister. His nephew. What were you thinking, going in alone? Weren't you off duty? Didn't you know it could collapse? Jack just smiled and shrugged with the one shoulder that still worked. He didn't speak of fear, or instinct, or duty. He didn't speak of anything. But Emma remembered. At the hospital, she kept asking for the man with the voice. The one who said, "It's okay now. I've got you." No one else heard those words. They weren't on record. They weren't captured on body cam. But she heard them, felt them, and in her world, they were the only thing that mattered. Weeks passed. The headlines faded. The photos disappeared. The town moved on. But Emma kept the jacket. The fireproof jacket Jack had wrapped her in, torn, blackened, far too big, became her security blanket. She refused to let her mom wash it, said it still smelled like the man who saved me. And Jack, he returned home quietly. Didn't mention the fire. Didn't hang up the newspaper clipping someone had mailed him. Didn't frame the certificates sent by the mayor. He just placed them in a drawer, along with dozens of other memories no one ever saw. Because Jack Mercer never did this for thanks. Never chased glory. Never needed recognition. He showed up. He stepped in. He did what others wouldn't. And when it was over, he let the silence speak. The fire was long gone, but its smoke still lingered in the hearts of those who witnessed what happened that night. No one in the town spoke of it casually. No one joked. No one exaggerated. Because what they saw, what Jack Mercer did, was sacred. 2 days after the rescue, Emma's mother, hands still trembling, sat down at her kitchen table and wrote a letter, not to the mayor, not to the news, but to Jack. You didn't just save my daughter, she wrote. You saved what little faith I had left in this world. She signed it, folded it carefully, and hand-delivered it to the fire station. Inside the envelope was something else, too. A small photo. Emma, smiling faintly in her hospital gown, wearing a fireproof jacket that hung off her like a blanket. She was holding a teddy bear. Its fur still smelled like ash. The town wanted to do more. The mayor's office scheduled a ceremony. City Hall, public, press invited. A plaque was engraved. For courage beyond duty, Jack Mercer. Firefighters were asked to wear full dress uniform. Everyone prepared, except Jack. He never showed, didn't return their calls, didn't send anyone in his place. Just a quiet envelope slid under the station door the morning of the event. Inside, a single piece of line paper, in neat black ink. I did what I was supposed to do. No more, no less. Give a medal to someone who needs reminding. No name, no signature, but they all knew who wrote it. The ceremony went on without him, but no one smiled much. No one made speeches too long. They lit a single candle, held a moment of silence, and placed the plaque on a wall inside the firehouse. Not City Hall, because that's where Jack would have wanted it. Years passed. The story faded, but never disappeared. Little Emma grew, no longer afraid of smoke, no longer hiding under beds. She started running toward emergencies, not away. And one day, she pinned on her first EMT badge. Her first night on call, she opened her gear bag and placed one item inside. A scratched, beaten old keychain. Metal bent. Letters nearly rubbed away. But you could still make it out. Jack Mercer. She never left home without it. In every siren she heard, every stretcher she wheeled, every pulse she checked, she remembered him. Not because he was famous, not because of what people said, but because, when no one else moved, he did. When the world froze in fear, he stepped forward without a second thought. Sometimes, when Emma saved someone, a child, a mother, a stranger, they'd say, "You're a hero," and she'd shake her head. "No," she'd whisper, "I just had a good teacher." They never understood what she meant, but she did. One spring afternoon, Emma responded to a crash on Highway 14. Car overturned, smoke rising, driver trapped. She cut the seatbelt with trembling hands, pulled the man out just before flames caught. He coughed, gasping. "Why'd you come back?" he asked. She just smiled, touched the old keychain hanging from her vest. "Because someone once did the same for me." Emma never met Jack again. He disappeared from the town a year after the fire. No farewell, no goodbye, just gone. Some say he moved out west. Others think he retired to the mountains. But the truth? No one really knew. And somehow, no one needed to, because Jack Mercer had never been the kind to stay in the light. He lit it, then stepped back into the dark, so others could see, so others could follow. In the years that followed, the town slowly changed. The fire code was updated. Illegally parked cars were never tolerated again, and a new wing of the firehouse was named Mercer Hall. No statues, no paintings, just a plaque. Simple, unpolished, but permanent. Because some heroes don't need monuments. They just need to be remembered, quietly. Jack Mercer passed away on a quiet Tuesday. No breaking news. No parade. No headlines. Just a brief call from the firehouse to the coroner. They had known it was coming. The cough had worsened. His steps slower. His voice quieter. But Jack never complained. Not once. He spent his last days at home. A small, weathered cabin on the edge of town. No internet. No mailbox. Just a radio and a fire scanner still humming on the windowsill. Only a handful of firefighters knew. They were the ones who checked in daily, brought groceries, sat with him on the porch. They never stayed long. Jack didn't like a fuss. He'd wave them off with that same tired smile. Save your energy for the next call, he'd say. They always nodded, but they never wanted to leave. When the time came, he didn't call anyone. No emergency line. No distress signal. He simply lay back in his old armchair, facing west, toward the horizon, and let go. His funeral wasn't announced publicly. There was no press release, no town-wide notice, just a quiet message passed between stations, and a small line in the local paper. Jack Mercer, former firefighter. Service to be held. Family invites silence. But then something happened. That morning, as the sun broke through heavy clouds, they came. Not reporters, not city officials, but people, real people. A mother with gray in her hair, her teenage son beside her, alive because of Jack. An old man in a wheelchair, gripping a melted helmet. A woman holding a framed photo of her baby, now grown. They came in silence. Dozens of them. No speeches, no introductions, just presence. One by one, they stood at his grave, placed a hand on the stone, and whispered, "Thank you." No one told them to come. No invitation was sent. But word travels differently when someone like Jack touches your life. There was no will, no property left behind, no ceremony, just a simple grave, flat to the earth, barely marked, except for one thing, chiseled clean into the stone. 7 words. He answered when no one else could. No rank, no dates, just truth. Firefighters stood at a distance that day. Dress uniforms, caps in hand, eyes wet. They didn't salute. They didn't play taps. They just stood there, quiet, because Jack would have hated anything louder. After the burial, Emma lingered last. Now a full paramedic. She knelt before the grave. The same girl once rescued from the fire. She placed a new keychain on the headstone. Polished, unworn. It read, "For the one who never asked." She whispered, "I still carry the first one." Then she stood, took a breath, and walked back toward the ambulance. No statue was ever built. No street renamed. But if you drive through town today, past the old firehouse, down Mercer Lane, you might notice something. A small metal plate on the bench out front. Faded, unnoticed by most. It reads, "Sit here if you've ever been saved." Jack Mercer didn't ask to be remembered. He didn't write a legacy. He didn't need to, because legacy isn't about noise, or medals, or monuments. It's about moments. Split seconds when someone chooses courage, over comfort, action, over applause, fire, over safety. And Jack always chose fire, not because he wanted to be brave, but because, deep down, he believed no one should ever be alone when the flames come. So when you think of heroes, don't just look for capes, or stages, or fame. Look for the man who showed up when the house was collapsing. Look for the name carved in silence. Look for the story no one bragged about, because it didn't need bragging. He answered when no one else could. If this story moved you, share it. Let's not forget the heroes who walk in a fire and ask for nothing in return.